Hello everyone, welcome to this week 6 tutorial on Bootstrap. This is the last video tutorial we're going to do. When we come back after the holidays, we'll be doing a test exam. So really today it's just to try and think about putting everything together, and at the end of this tutorial we'll make this really nice looking page here with a lot of different breakpoints. It's a lot more stylish than the ones that we've been doing previously. And again, it's just to kind of look back on the previous work we've done with prototyping and trying to get you to see the potential and putting all the skills that you have together so you can put together some really nice looking sites. So I'll just look you through the website just now. As you can see, it's got a responsive image. We've got a nice nav bar in there. Move down. With this nice section here, what we're going to do today is we're going to go into W3 schools, and we can take some of these icons. We can also take some of these form input boxes and the buttons, and we can see how we organise that when it goes to the small, extra small breakpoints. Also this section here, see when we create one nice kind of template for these sections, we can just repeat it like so. So again, just working with these nice breakpoints, and the bottom section keeping in the style and the theme, nice black and white website. Also what I've done as well, I've changed this to a background of black, which gives us another really nice look, which I think you might like. And as I said, once we've made these, we can very quickly show how they look. What I did there was is to right click and view inspect element, and we can see how our websites look on different products. Like for example, this one here is a Nexus 5. Very similar to what we did with Envision. And we can maybe look at how it looks like an iPad. Maybe take it up a little bit bigger. So it's a really nice way to evaluate the design process to see how our work actually looks on these devices themselves. Try that with this. So again, just right click, click inspect, and okay, so let's get started and we'll look at getting this nice website built for us. So as before, please go to NetSchool and download the tutorial files. So I've got the links to Bootstrap, I've given you some CSS information as well, and the images as normal. So just set up your site, make sure you put in the required links from the viewport, the link to the Bootstrap CSS, and also your jQuery and JavaScript link. And as before, it's always nice to just put in a headline or an H1 tag to make sure that the links are working. And the default font in Dreamweaver is Times New Roman, and the default font in Bootstrap is Helvetica, so that's rendered that correctly. Now you'll see by these websites or web pages that I've made before, there's a lot of really nice stylized fonts. So where we get these from is from Google Fonts, which is a really nice way to augment your pages. So we're going to go to Google Fonts just now. Just type in Google Fonts, and you can see here, if you've not used this before, they've got many different font styles. Serif, sans serif, handwriting, monospace. You can select for different sizes, etc. if you want a heading, if you want some body text, etc. But the three that we're going to use today is, the first one we're going to go for is cardio. So if we just type in here that I've already done, and if we just click there, we can select that, then we get a link. So it says here, and I can just go Control C, back to Dreamweaver, and just after a bootstrap link, Control V, paste that one in, and we'll go back again. I'll just clear that. The next one is Oswald. This one here, which is a nice heading font. Command C, Command V. Clear. And the last one is called Poppins. Okay, that's another nice font. Click that one there. Now feel free as well to try your own ideas out and to try your own fonts. I think these three particularly go quite well together. They're quite contemporary looking fonts, and they give you quite a lot of variation over the page. So that's us there. And all we have to do then, if we for example specify an H1 font, an H2 font on the CSS, we can just call it up and we can assign it the properties of cardio, and we can tell it what size to be, etc., and it will take on that style. Just save that, and we're ready to move on. But the next thing we'll do on our page is we'll go to W3C Schools and we will take the code for a nav bar. So if we just get to the website, do a search for Bootstrap, and then we can scroll down and we can see various examples like so. And I think I'll just take this one just now. I can just Control C, make sure again it's in the body, Control V, Command S, and we'll just preview that in the page. And that's us now got our nav bar in place, like so. Now there's many different ones we can use, so just feel free to play around. Also add in named pages or a different website name as well. Make a page active, perhaps add in a button class if you like. So just try and get yourself familiar with what you can actually use. This is quite an interesting one as well. You can add in a drop down menu. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is we'll do our responsive image at the top of the page. Now, in order to make the header image, we are going to use the same technique as we did last week, is that we'll create a div class container, and outside that we will wrap a header class and we'll call it BG image again. And inside the container what we have is with H1 and we have an H4. So what we'll do is we'll style them with the fonts that we have just downloaded. So we'll give the H1 a font size of 64 and the font family of Poppins, font weight bold, and we'll style the H4 tag here, which will be a font size of 24 and the font family of Cardio. So let's just do these next couple of stages just now. So firstly, just refresh the screen because I just noticed there that my container hadn't caught up in itself. So now we can see that the text is now indented. We've got the border at the side, and what I'd just like to do here just now is to put in just a little break tag where we can add a bit of space between the Great Experiences and the H4 text, and we'll just do that one more time. Quite a nice little trick. And then we'll go to the CSS, and I've already typed in my H1 and H4, most of the properties, but the size that I'll choose here just now, I'm going to choose size 64 for the H1, so I'll just type in 64 pixels. The font family is Poppins, which is one of the ones that we have just identified from the Google fonts, and the size or the weight is bold, like so. And the H4 tag is going to be size 24 pixels, sorry. And the font family this time is Cardo, sorry. Maybe that has to be a capital C. And that's now working nicely. The next thing we'll do is we'll put in our background image. So as before, the same process we did last week with the reptile. So we'll now type in header class equals, and we'll call this the same as before. Open the tag here, and we basically close it after our container in order to wrap it around the entire container. And now we just go to the CSS. I've already typed in the properties for it, most of them. So all I have to do now is just to call up the image, just browse, and it's this one here, select OK, and there we go, Command S, and File Preview, Chrome. That's working nice. I'll maybe take one of these breakpoints out here, or maybe add one in at the top. Maybe take this out, Command X, and put it in there. Tidy that up a little bit. That's a bit better. Okay, the next thing we'll do, we'll put a button in here, and we'll get that from the W3C schools. Now within the W3 schools website, we can see that we have all these components, parts like the Jumbotron, buttons, nav bars, etc. And these are the button styles that we can use from, or to use within our Bootstrap. And the one that we want to use here is just this red one, which is the danger button, funnily enough. So what we can do is we're going to select it here, but we want the large version of it. So what we just have to do, as you can see, we just need to type in this extra property when we copy it in to get a larger button, or indeed if we wanted a small, medium or extra small version of it, we could just type in those properties like so. But what we'll do is just copy that. Just underneath our H4 tag, Command V, we'll see that that's pasted that in OK. First thing we'll do is we'll change the text to enter, and we'll add in btn-lg. Okay. Command S, File, Preview. Now just play around with the breakpoints. As I said, I've just tried to add a couple more in, creating a bit more space from there. Maybe you want another bit of space between your H4 text and your button, so it's up to you, just see how you get on. But that is the second part complete. Now you'll notice I've also changed my navbar. I can also upload the code for that. I think it's just a bit more effective. I like that little hamburger feature, as they call it here, so we can give that to you for the tutorial. Okay, let's move on. Now the next section, as ever, we have created a div-class container. We have put a comment where it opens, a comment where it closes, and it's also quite a good The thing to do, if we can just take that just now, and we can just save a copy of it. So we don't need to do that again. Okay, now the part that we're going to do this time is, let's see here, it's getting a little bit tricky now, is we're going to put in a header in here, and we're going to create these two sections. And again, we're just going to go back and forward to W3C Schools, and we're going to take these, which are called glyphicons. Let's just double check, where are they? Yep, glyphicons here. So we can take these little icons and we can paste them in, and also these input boxes. But it's just getting a little bit tricky when we start working with our breakpoints, like so. So we'll do this part first and then we'll just move on. So as if by magic, I have done the next part, which is to create a title class. So we've called this div class, calling this one title 5. We're going to align its centre, and it's going to be named, or the text is going to be called Our Vision. So we can now see that in here. Again, I'm going to put in a couple of breakpoints, like so we can get a bit of space from the image, maybe put in 3. And then we'll go to our CSS. I've already typed that part in here, which is .title5, because it's a class. Now the size of this, let me just double check, is going to be 38 pixels. And the font family is Poppins. And the font weight is bold. And the colour here is just going to be black. So again, we just click in there, like so. Command S, bit of preview. And we can see that sitting quite nice. Okay, so we'll just move on. Now we'll create our columns. Now I've just moved on a step ahead, so I'll just discuss what I've actually done here. So I've created a div class column, and we're going to work with a large breakpoint. We're going to go over 6 columns. So again, if you look back to the finished page, just to get us started, at the moment we're going to work over 6 columns and 6 columns here. So we've created div class column -large-6, comment tag, column opens, and we've got the column closes down here. And I didn't explain that before, but obviously we have that inside a row, where the row opens, the row closes. The title 5, which is this Our Vision part, is outside the column. So that just sits itself. We've got the breakpoints here to make it move away from the image. So what we want to do now is we want to create this div class title, and we'll type in there, we'll open the tag here, close it there, and we'll type in get free access, and then we want to make an H5 tag, and we'll have this text here. This is where you can cite visitors, blah 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 blah. So that's where that opens and that's where that closes. So then what we'll begin to do is we'll just take that, Command C, and we'll create our second column of 6. Now the text is a little bit different on the other side. So this one is email newsletter. And it's just the same body text that we'll use. Okay, so if I just refresh that, hopefully it'll skip in. Nope, Command S. So we'll just preview that in the browser, hopefully it'll sit side by side. Okay, so that's beginning to get there. So we've now created the 2 columns within the container, within the row. Now before we move on, I'll just make sure you style these correctly, so I'll just give you the code for that. The first one is the title. Now you might find it a bit strange the way I've named all these. It's maybe not in sequence, title 5 then followed by title. It's just I've been changing my mind with the fonts that I'm using, so just try and bear with me, and I'll give you this CSS anyways for you to use. Anyway, the font size for this one is 28 pixels, and the font family again is Oswald, and this time we'll give it a serif property. And H5, font size 18, font family Cardio, colour is this kind of greyish colour here. If we roll over it we can see it. Margin right, 40 pixels, and display block. Now I'll just explain why I've done that a little bit later. But now we will just go back to the source code and we'll fill in the rest of the media that we need, which are the input boxes and the graphicons. So what we'll do now is we'll go back to W3C Schools and we'll find them. Now if you go back to the W3 Schools website and we click on the Bootstrap graphicons, we can see here we can take these little icons by using the span class glyphicon and the glyphicon name, and the one that we want to use here is the search one, which is basically this one here. So we could just take this Command C back to our Dreamweaver and we'll just type that in here. And we'll just change that one to search, and hopefully that's now appearing, so we can now see that appearing here. What we'll do is we'll just give a couple of breakpoints in, like so, to bump it down a little bit. Now the next thing we need to do is we need to put some text next to it, so we will put that in an H6 tag and close that after the span tag, and we'll paste in the text, build your business the smart way, like so. Now in order to put a little bit of space in here, what we can do is we can do this cool little trick as well. If you just type in the and we can come up with this and no break space tab, and we'll just put that in twice like so, and that gives us a little bit of space between there. And then what we'll simply do is we'll simply paste that in another, how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So we can take that here and a break, copy, paste, 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 refresh, and then we will change the text and we'll move on to the next part. So now the text has been changed. Just couple of things I'll point out. I've actually pasted it in. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines. There was a little mistake in there, which was the wrong property I put in. So just double check that. Just make it and no break space twice. So if we just save that. And we also I meant to say as well, I just realised at some point I hadn't, or I'd missed the closing tag from my column. So if that's maybe confusing you, just make sure you have it in there the same as I do just now, and we will preview in the browser. And our page should look like so. So just maybe 1 space there, 2 spaces here, and 1 each in there. Okay, now we'll move on to this part over here. Now back in W3 Schools, we have again access to all these properties, and the ones we want to look at for now are the input boxes. So these are really a good way to kind of fill your website with the potential for your client or whoever else to start inputting passwords and names. As I said, and the reason we're doing that just now is to follow up upon the prototyping classes that we've been doing. So we can take these two here, for example, name and password, and all we simply need to do is we just need to copy them, Command C, back into Dreamweaver, and in our second column, right about here, we just need to paste that in. So if we just refresh File Preview in Browser, and there we have a name and a password in, and we can maybe just even that up a little bit. We can maybe just take the last one here, Command C, Command V, and we'll maybe name this one your email. Okay, and the last thing we'll do, we'll put another button down below that, so we can just take the one that we've already got from the top, Command C, down to the very bottom, just below that one there, Command V, refresh, File Preview in Browser, and what I might do is I might just put some breakpoints in there to kick it down a little bit. And there we go, that's it. The second part just about done. Well, now we'll get onto the breakpoints just shortly, but we'll just introduce another few features in a little second. So just before we move on here, I would just like to introduce you to this little feature down below, which we can see, we'll maybe see it better in our finished one. We're going to introduce this line to separate the different sections. So the way that we do that is back in our Dreamweaver, just after the container closes, we're just going to put in 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 break points, and then we're going to type in this piece of code here called HR, which is basically a line tag. And then when we go into our CSS, there is the code that you need in order to, in fact that should be 0.5 I think. There's the code that you need and the colour you need, etc. to create those lines. Now in the exam you will be able to get that from W3 schools anyway, so you don't have to remember it off the top of your head. Now we're on the next section. So we have already made this part here, as we already saved a container that opens, container closes, the row opens, the row closes here, and then what we've done is we have created a div class title5 centered as property center, and we named that our journal. A couple of breakpoints, and then we have opened up our div class column, and we're just going to assign that 6 columns. So we're going to work again with 6 and 6, and then we'll change that later on. Then we have this H6 tag here, and then underneath that we're giving it a title, another title, which was named title6. I'll give you the properties for a little break tag, and then we've got this larger text, oh sorry, not the larger text, this body text here, H5, which we already have, a break tag, and then we have this continue reading, all within this column, like so. Okay, so if we just save our page, preview in the browser, and we should see that sitting quite nice. Okay, so we'll now just have a look at the CSS to make sure we know how we need to style these, and we'll maybe actually bump that down a little bit at the moment. So we'll just find where that is on here, and we can put in, for example, maybe just a couple of break tags. Okay, so we need to find out the title 5, first one, title 5. I think we already have that. Okay, so the title 5 has already been assigned. H6 tag, we are using font size 18, font family Poppins, this one here. H5 tag, is again this one we've already assigned, I believe. Font size 18, cardio. And again, we'll get back to this here later. Okay, so that's that first column organised. The next thing we'll do is we'll start to work with our image over the other side. Now we'll work on the section on the right hand side of the web page, which contains the image. So what we'll do is we've just we'll need to type in, let me see, just refresh myself where I am. Column open, column closes. So we'll put in another div class column equals KOL dash LG dash 6. I'll just steal that comment here. Command C, Command V, Command V, and we'll just type in that closes. So that's our second column. So within the second column, we'll create a bit of space. And now we need to find the image, so we'll type in image class equals, and this is going to be a responsive image, so img dash responsive, and we find this source of the image, browse, and this will be the Office 1 image here. We'll give it an alternative tag, this equals Office, like so, and determine the width equals 450 pixels, and the height, which equals 270 pixels. So also play around with your own sizes as well. We maybe like it a bit smaller or larger. So anyway, that is the image here. And we'll just have a wee look at that. Oh, so that's obviously a mistake somewhere. 45 pixels, should be 450 pixels. 270 pixels. Refresh, file. Okay, so that's quite nice. Now what we can also do here is we can maybe put a bit of padding. So we can add in some more properties here. We can type in img image pad as well, and if we now go to our CSS, we can create a separate class of that, so image pad, and we'll put some padding at the top. Just refresh and file, preview in browser, and that image then should now pop down a little bit. Just compare it to the last one. See that there? It's now moved down a little bit. We could maybe even try and move that down more if you wanted. And we'll just see how it looks. It's just working over the 2 breakpoints at the moment. which is fine, and we'll fix all of them later on. Okay, so now what I need you to do is if you just replicate these sections, putting in the line between so that we have the next two parts like so, and then we'll move on to the last part, and then we'll do the breakpoints. Now we should have now completed this part here. So essentially what we've done is we've taken this section, which container, open, close, row, open, close. We're using a column of 6 for the text, and we're using a column of 6 at the moment for the image. Then we copy and paste that, and we just change a few little details, swap over the image. So we've got a new container, opens, a new row closes, row of 6 here, a row of 6 there, and again, copy that, container opens, container closes. Excuse me. Now just a few little things, just take care of your breakpoints, and when you put your line in, I've already altered part of that as well in the CSS. I've just tried a few different things out to create a different size from 100 to 150. So it's beginning to look a little bit neater. Okay, so you can see once you get familiar with the code and how important it is to comment, because you can quickly copy and paste large sections of what you're doing, which really helps speed up. Again, with the responsive image and the added class of the image pad, maybe look at making that larger, smaller to see if it fits better with your ideas. Okay, so now we'll just go into the last part of the document. Now let's just look at the structure of the last part. So we've now got a div class container fluid, and we're going to give that a background colour of black. Okay, so this is going to span across the entire browser. Most of the ones we've used before have just been containers, so we get that natural space at the side. Okay, so the container opens here, container closes there. We have inserted a row open here, a row closing there, and just within our row, but not within our column, we have put this heading, our services. I'm giving it 3 breakpoints, so it's kind of sits a little bit away from the top of the row there, or the top of the section itself, and then within that we're going to have 3 sections, so we're going to take up 4 columns each. So we've opened our column here and we've stopped it right there, so we'll just save and preview that just now to make sure everything's looking okay. So we've got that started, so now we need to do is just put the media in for the 3 different sections and move on to the last thing, which will be the breakpoints. Now the first piece of content that we need in this 4-column section is the image. So we will now type in here image, and we'll make a class of that because we're going to call this one icon, because we have 3 images, so it means that we can refer to them once in the CSS by naming a class of icon. And just give it the source, and the first one will be this one here, and like so. And if we go to our CSS, I've already put that in. The icon is made a class of it, maximum width 100, margin 0, which means basically margin left and top, margin auto, and display block, which we've already done before. Back to the source code, refresh, file preview, see how that looks. So there's that image sitting in nicely. Let's go back here, and the next thing we'll do is we'll add in the text. So what we'll add in here now is we'll put in a div class equals title 3 and also a div class title 4. And the first thing that we'll do, and we'll just fill in the body text, so it's content marketing for the first one, and we'll also add in an align equals center, and we can just copy and paste that, and we can put that in here as well. And in here we need to type in understanding the basics. Okay, now we refresh here. Now we just need to make sure we've got the title 3 and title 4 already assigned on our CSS. So we've got title 3, and we'll put in title 4. So we'll use a font size of 18, we'll use the font family Cardio, and we'll make this white this time. So if we just refresh on this, and we can see that looks quite good now. And what we'll just do here is we'll just put in another couple of breakpoints, just in order to space it out a little bit. So we will move on down. So we put in a breakpoint here, and a breakpoint here. We put one more in. And this preview. And just a couple more in the bottom there, and then we can go about to copy and paste. Oh. And this. Okay, so we just need to copy this section, change the content another 2 times. So simply what we need to do, we just need to copy our columns here because the spaces are okay. Command C, Command V, Command V. So that's that in twice. Now the next thing, we just need to go back, and instead of content marketing, we have got this one, which is podcast training. And we'll need to change that image. And choose this one. And then the last one is digital commerce. Command S, refresh. We have all our images in place. File, preview in browser, and that's us just about there. So everything's looking really good just now. We just need to have a little overview. We can maybe tidy up a couple of breakpoints in here and things like that. Apart from that, everything's looking good. We can just grab the sides to see how it's working. Okay, it's looking not so bad at the moment. These breakpoints are pretty easy down the bottom here. We need to get rid of this, but last part is just to tidy up all the column widths. So let's just look at how the columns will be designed. So here we're using 6 columns and 6 columns. And then when we move down to the medium breakpoint, we're going to still have the same type of shape. And now we're going to offset 2 columns here, and then we're going to use 4 columns, offset 2 columns, and then have 4 columns, which again adds up to 12. And if we move down then to the small breakpoint, we are going to offset 3 columns, and then we're only going to use 6 columns, and then we have 3 columns left over. And then lastly, at the extra small breakpoint, just here as well, we're going to offset 3 columns, we're going to use 6 columns, and then we have 3 columns left over. So let's go back into our code. So I'll just begin to type in the properties that we actually need for our columns then. So we'll start off with the extra small, col dash extra small dash, and we're going to use 6 columns when we're at that breakpoint, and we're going to offset 3 columns. So let's just look what that looks like then. So if we go back here, it basically means we want to push in 3 columns here, and we only want to use 6 columns running across here, and then there'll be 3 columns left. And then when we move up a little bit bigger, this is now the small breakpoint. So again, we'll offset 3 columns here, and we'll only use 6 columns. So if we just go in here again, and we type in col dash sm dash 6, and then we'll offset 3 col dash sm sorry, I should have put in here offset dash 3 dash 3. Okay, that's that done. Go back and look, and then when we move up a little bit, we get to the medium breakpoint. So what we're going to do here is we're only going to take 4 columns, and this is a little bit different because we're only going to offset 1 column here. We use 4 columns, and then this one and this column will offset 2, and then we'll offset 4. And the reason we do that is just the content here is just a little bit wider. It's a little bit different than what we have, so it makes it look a bit more even. Okay, so let's just, on the first one, the first column, the top column, so col dash md dash 4 and col dash md dash offset by 1. Okay, and then the last one we do is col dash lg dash 6, and then col dash lg dash offset, and that's just back to 0. So that basically just reset it every time that we do it. So once we go down the breakpoints and back up, this resets it to 0. So let's just scroll down. I've done the same down here, except, as I said, I've offset the medium by 2 columns on the right hand column. So if I just go File, Preview in Browser, and here we have it, the medium breakpoint, small breakpoint, and I've got too many windows open to see the extra small, but that's working quite nicely. So we'll just move down, and it's the same steps for this part down here, so let's just do that in the moment. Okay, so this is the last column I need to type in. I've already typed in for all the other columns here, so I'll just do that and I will test it. Let me see, so I know what I'm doing perfectly. So again, we'll type in call dash extra small dash 6, which means we'll only want to use 6 columns at the extra small size. And we'll offset extra small size by 3. Then we'll go to the small breakpoint, call dash sm dash, we only want to use 6 columns, so we'll offset by 3 again. Small breakpoint by 3. Then the medium breakpoint, call dash md dash 6 and offset by 3. And lastly, the large breakpoint, we will only use 6 columns and we'll offset by 0. Okay. Oh, Command S, save that. File, preview in browser. So our last section here should be working like so. So the large breakpoint is working over 6 columns each. Now the medium breakpoint, 6 as a whole, offsetting 3. Small breakpoint, doing exactly the same, only using 6 columns, offsetting 3. And the extra small, like so. So very well done, you made a very nice website there. Hopefully a few wee blips here and there, but don't worry too much about it. Some of the breakpoints and things like that could be tidied up a little bit, but nonetheless I think it shows you how quickly you can get quite a nice looking site spec'd up for a client, working very nice, doing a lot of nice little things, using a lot of the features that Bootstrap can give us, and also very very quickly you can change that like so, just in the body of your CSS, make a black background basically. As I said before, feel free to use Inspect Element where you can check out how your website will look on various different devices. It's always nice to show your client immediately what it'll look like on a tablet or an iPad, etc. like so. And also giving them the options immediately to view it. Okay. So good luck with this, and as this is week 6, a week before Christmas, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, and I'll see you all hopefully in class. Cheers, bye bye.